Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, KingdomStrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from KingdomStrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact KingdomStrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's KingdomStrollers.com. Do you want to save around 40% off Disney's prices for deluxe on-property accommodations? Contact DVC-rental.com. They help out Disney Vacation Club owners rent out points that they're not going to use. These points mean savings for you on your next trip at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Vero Beach, Florida, and Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. The DVC member books everything in your name, just like any other reservation. And if you ever decide that you want to become a DVC member, you can check out our sister company, BuyAndSellDVC.com. As a licensed realtor, they sell DVC contracts for members at a savings of 30 to 40% off Disney's prices. And if you're looking to sell your contract, BuyAndSellDVC.com has one of the industry's lowest commissions at only 6.5%. Again, that's DVC-rental.com for your rental needs and BuyAndSellDVC.com to buy or sell into the Disney Vacation Club at a large discount. And make sure you tell them that the Behind Ears podcast crew sent you.
Attention wizards and witches. The Expedition Roasters head roastmaster is pleased to announce the release of 4 new wizarding brews. Are you charming and courageous, book-smart and brilliant, big-hearted and kind, or possibly cunning and ambitious? You may have to try all 4 to find out which house roast you belong to. So cast a transporting spell over to Expeditionroasters.com to begin your journey. And don't forget to continue your adventure with our large selection of pop culture-inspired themed coffees. There's always an adventure in every bag. Behind the Ears podcast fans, be sure to use the code EARS20 for 20% off your first order. That's EARS20 at Expeditionroasters.com. Brew, your happy place.
Behind the Ears
You're
podcast.
listening to the Behind Ears podcast because everybody does
You
Disney
all
differently.
saw that. He pointed to me. He waved me down and pointed at me. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning into another episode of Behind the Ears podcast. I am Uncle Danny, the man giving me the wrong cues, and everybody saw it. It is going down in history. That is Mr. Chris. He's too hyper. He was given the wrong cues. He didn't even know. That is Mr. Chris. This is Behind the Ears podcast. If you are new, usually that's not how our show works. We had a couple technical glitches now that we are live on Facebook and YouTube, but we will get that cleared away. Once again, we are Behind the Ears podcast. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:45, and we talk all things Disney with a heavy concentration inside Disney World. But without further ado, Mr. Chris, how are you doing on this trademarked word that we came up with Friday Eve?
Hey, all I got to say is this has been a day. There's really one of those, it's really one of those days where, let's face it, you hear some Disney news and you can't stop thinking about it the entire day. And it just makes you say, you know what? Why do I bother trying to go back to work? Because all I'm thinking about is Galaxy's Edge and everything else like that.
Man, I guess not everybody thought that, but
well, no, I'm saying everybody as in a lot of people. I mean, let's face it, this whole news bit blew up the internet, and I think a lot of people are actually really surprised. I mean, a lot of people are really surprised at this news. And it's not just the fact that we finally have some dates for Galaxy's Edge. It's not just that, but it's also the idea that there have been some conversations going around on different Facebook groups that actually asked the question, now that we know what the dates are going to be, and also some details about what to possibly expect in a sense of what is being offered, not necessarily what to be expected along the lines of crowds, but, along the lines of what to expect as to what's offered. People are starting to always ask the question, are you going to go? And that is one of those things that we're going to touch on as well as some other things tonight. It won't be the only thing that we talk about, but here's the thing. Danny and I talked about this off air earlier today. And unfortunately, with the idea that Galaxy's Edge is going to open basically Labor Day weekend, and the fact that there's really no way for us both to be able to get down there because of work schedules and vacation availability and so on and so forth, we're probably, while we would love to be there for opening day, it probably won't happen. It's just going to be not feasible. But we talked about food and wine. And we talked about going there right after the Indie Disney meet, end of September. Well, I haven't had a chance to tell Danny this yet, but I booked our room.
For what?
For our food and wine trip.
That's interesting. I don't even know what dates we're going.
Well, I know. Well, we talked about some dates.
We're announcing it now.
Yeah. So now, granted, it's a placeholder room, right? I know it's going to probably be changed, but I thought here's my thought process, and I'm going to apologize to you in front of everybody here. Part of the thing is that I had a feeling that if I didn't jump on this, then it would be like, difficult to get a decent low priced room later. So that's all I did. And we could always change it. We could always move it around. That's the cool part about Disney reservations. Basically,
so what are our dates?
What our dates would be Sunday, the 22nd of September through, Thursday, the 26th. So 4 nights, and Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, leave Thursday.
Yeah, so 4 nights, 5 days.
Yeah, I thought you said 5 nights. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I might have. I truly might have said that.
And so here's the thing. And I actually had our friend Jessica, one of our community coordinators, double check this for me. Even at that point, there are no AP discounts available around that time in September. There's really nothing discounted for that time now. So I ended up basically paying, I guess, what you considered full price at that time. And so, it wasn't too bad, but I have a room at All Star Music for us. Not necessarily probably our first choices, but,
where?
Music.
That's like the worst one.
It was also cheapest.
That makes sense.
I
might die, but okay.
Hey, listen, we're gonna be out in food and wine. But here's also the other thing. I say that because we also are planning to still go to Galaxy's Edge during that time. It just may not necessarily be that first day or that first week, or that it'll be open in a month. But it's one of those cases where we kind of have to plan some things out. Now, I know there's a lot of other people that have booked some rooms for that night, right before opening. And I'm not trying to say that I'm hoping we're not disappointing anybody, but the fact of the matter is that we're trying to pick and choose the best possible way to give everybody the best show possible, the best information possible, the best live streaming possible from what we're going to do in this, that, and the other. But that's one of those things. So I'm just letting you know that's our initial plan. That may still change, but I wanted to get that room in place. So here's the interesting. Let's see. I'm going to go through some of the comments here really quick over on the Facebook side. It's kind of interesting. It's like Wendy basically said, how many people booked for August and September thinking they'd be able to beat the crowds only to find opening day changed? Wendy, it's kind of interesting because, again, I was just chatting with Jessica not too long ago, and she falls right into that type of scenario. that, she wanted to go down there, and it's going to be crazy, and she knows it. And we're going to get into that a little bit more, but it's one of those cases where it's a distinct possibility. How bad is it going to be? Excuse me. There was
going to be mayhem.
It is going to be mayhem. But here's also what I'm thinking. Think about this for a second. Toy Story Land, when they did opening day, wasn't bad. Let me quantify wasn't bad. Yes, multiple hour lines just to get into the land. If you leave, chances are you ain't getting back in. At the same time, if you had a fast pass, you were able to bypass that line, go into the land, do your fast pass, and stay. And ultimately, it wasn't really that bad of a crowd because they kept it throttled. Not too bad, if you ask me. It was still busier than I'll get out. There was still a 2+ hour wait for Slinky Dog Dash. There was still long lines for Andy's Lunchbox. And everybody's been saying that the waits for different things at Galaxy's Edge was going to be, epic and huge. But I don't necessarily think it's going to be elbows to elbows. Why? They're going to throttle it somewhere outside the park, outside that part of the park. So that's something to take into consideration. When you're in there, you're in. And when you're not, you're going to wait. And even when I booked the room, it basically gave a type of a disclaimer that basically said, if you're going for Galaxy's Edge, there's no guarantee that you will actually be able to get into the park, let alone experience Galaxy's Edge once you're in the park. That's my interpretation of what it said, but I don't think I'm not embellishing that at all. So take that into consideration. So yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of things I just don't like from this release. Few things to hit on. No fast passes.
Yeah, but you know what it does? It puts everybody into in equal standing. Just like, remember how I just said with
outside of disability passes.
Yeah, outside
they
of
used to talk about that, but they're gonna have to still honor that.
Yeah, they're gonna. I think I read somewhere that they're gonna do that as well. But here's the thing: just like Toy Story Land, if you had a fast pass, that was your ticket in.
Yeah.
So they're basically cutting that out. Whether or not they learned from that somehow, but yeah.
My 3 biggest gripes would be Fast Pass 1, 2. Once again, they're opening on a holiday weekend. There was no need to open on a holiday weekend.
Yeah, wow.
You were going to get the crowds that weekend anyway. You just made it unbearable for people now. People spend a lot of money, and that might not care that Star Wars Land is opening. But now we're going to have to deal with all the people that want to be there for just Star. It's going to be a nightmare. I do say the rest of the park should be okay, though. You watch Animal Kingdom. You really want to ride Flight of Passage? Go to Animal Kingdom on that day. I promise you'll get on it.
But I bet you Epcot is not going to go unscathed with this. It's going to be the overflow park because people are going to be walking.
Close. Yeah,
people are going to be walking.
Right.
That pathway between Hollywood Studios and Epcot will never be as utilized as it will be during the beginning part of Galaxy's Edge. There'll be a ton of foot traffic because they're going to look at that and there's no way in God's green earth I'm getting in. Turn around. Let's go to Epcot and get ourselves a Grand Marnier slush.
I do agree. And the last thing I would say is the fact that they're not. Why are we rushing the opening to the fact of you're literally running at less than 50%? Is from some of the reports let's just say I'm going low. Let's call it they're opening the park halfway ready to be opened. Why?
You know what? You want my 2 cents on that?
Yeah, I mean,
because
it doesn't change. Yeah,
it doesn't change anything really. But my whole take on it is that I think that if they don't do it, if they don't do it now to at least get it open while they still get things going, which if you think about it, they've done that before. The interesting part to it is if they wait longer, the Christmas season will be indescribable when it comes to the traffic that comes to that. I don't. You remember how
either way, though.
I'm sorry.
It would have been either way. You still would have got crazy traffic during Christmas.
Yeah, but now, okay. Because here's the deal: we're all talking about how crazy it's going to be with traffic. Think about this for a second. You have people that are Disney fans that love all things under the Disney umbrella, including Star Wars and Marvel. They're obviously trying to figure out when they're going to go. I mean, that's a given. You have Disney fans that don't care about Star Wars and Marvel, and they're the ones that really don't care about this whole thing. And, most likely, if they're already going to be down there during that time, they're going to go to other parks. They're not going to really worry about it. The third group of people that I don't think anybody's really talked about are the Star Wars fans that are not necessarily Disney fans. These are the people that, they don't necessarily care about Disney animation. They don't necessarily care about the usual Disney IP and this, that, and the other, but they are Star Wars fans. Those are the ones that are going to swarm that park. And I'm not saying this in a negative manner. I just don't think that we've actually really considered someone liking Star Wars, but not liking Disney necessarily. They're going to focus their time at Hollywood Studios. And they're the ones that I think are going to take a really big chunk out of what's going on there. It's just something to think about because I think we're going to be a little bit surprised at the guests that will be there and the demographic makeup in the sense of what they really like, why they're there. They'll go to Galaxy's Edge. They won't necessarily do much of anything else, although they'll probably really love Rock and Roller Coaster. They'll love Tower of Terror and things like that because they're kind of more thrill seekers, in my opinion. But I will tell you this, and I'll pause here after this. When I go to Star Wars Celebration in April, I do plan on talking with people. And I do plan on talking with people about whether or not they're going to be able to go to Galaxy's Edge for around the opening. And I say around, like I'll say the first month or so. And I'm going to ask them, do you plan on going to any of the other parks? Or are you going to focus on Galaxy's Edge? I'm going to tell you right now, my prediction is that they're going to focus on Galaxy's Edge. And that is going to be the difference between Disney fans like us that like a little bit of everything versus Star Wars fans that don't really care about Disney IP. So there you go. What do you think?
No, I think it was a mishmash, and I the only thing I could see why they would open early and not have everything ready is because the last thing they want to do is open it in November at full capacity right before the holiday crap.
Well,
so it's basically basically Labor Day weekend is essentially the soft opening.
Yeah. I mean, Brandon actually brings the idea, he says, I want the thoughts on whether you like or dislike that they're only opening part of it. I think that brings up a good point. This is going to be like a phased opening, which is basically one step above a soft opening. I think that it might limit people that are going to not want to go until such time as, it's 100%, which will help the crowds. Let's face it, that'll help the crowds. I guess it's one of those cases when we go down there will still be a very good chance that only some of it will be open. Only one attraction will be open.
It's a money grab.
Is it really though? If they're disclosing this and they're not necessarily charging anything else.
Because think about it. If you are a diehard Star Wars fan,
mm-hmm.
or you are big into Disney and you have a Disney themed business,
mm-hmm.
you want to be there for a celebration of a new land opening. Yeah. We had this discussion the other night about how even me, who has no liking to Star Wars, even said, when is the next land opening? There's nothing on the horizon. I mean, this is a talk for years, but Pandora took 6 years to build. You know, there is nothing on the horizon of opening anytime soon. So this is the last big hurrah outside of new attractions and whatnot. So what are you going to do? You're going to have people that are going to fly in for that, spend money. And it's not cheap to get into the parks. It's the hotels are going to skyrocket, right? Okay, boom. Then, okay, guys, in about 3 months, then we'll have everything open. It's not like Pandora where they at least just opened what they said they were going to open. And there's people like you that speculate that, okay, one day they might build this up a little bit more than it is. They're literally telling you, ha, 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 good luck. You now need to come back twice if you want the full experience of everything.
You know, Brandon actually mentioned, he mentioned that there was quoted, Disney was quoted as basically saying, it's due to the demand. And I mean, let's face it. Maybe it's the right thing to do. Maybe it's also like what you said, phase it in so that they know things work. Because if you try to do it all at one time with the crowds, it could very well be detrimental. I mean, think what happened to Frozen Ever After. They granted it's not necessarily an apples for apples comparison, but they made an attraction so hugely popular with 2, 3, 4 hour wait times, if not longer, and the ride couldn't handle it. When they opened Flight of Passage right off the bat, there were performance issues with the attraction because the rider volume was so high that there had to be some engineering changes done to the attraction in order for it to be able to run at basically a 100% duty cycle.
I mean, but they already scrapped the idea of a table service restaurant being built. How many of the 6 restaurants that we talked about the other night are going to be open? Isn't the main attraction not even going to be open on opening day?
Well, it depends on which one you consider to be the main attraction. And the fact of the matter is, to me, they're both going to be pretty epic in a sense of what they're going to be dealing with. So they actually did it right, then, is what you're saying. They didn't pull a Toy Story or a Pandora where they give you one phenomenal ride and then just a throw-in second ride. I think they're both going to be really pretty good. I mean, when I say pretty good, that's a bad way of putting it. I think they're both going to be something I know I am looking forward to.
What's the Millennial Falcon one? Is that their Flight of Passage?
I think so. If you want to, more interactive.
And isn't that the one that's not going to be open?
No, I think that is the one that's going to be open.
Oh, I thought that was the one that was.
You know what? Unfortunately, I don't have my notes in front of me. So you know what? I will yield to better information if people are able to say it. But the fact of the matter is, both of them are going to be immersive, and that's something. You're not having one huge awesome attraction and one that's going to be extraordinarily watered down. You're not going to have a Flight of Passage, which is, let's face it, me and you both have had emotional responses from that attraction.
But think about imagine waiting all those hours for Pandora and getting Navi.
That's what I'm kind of getting at.
You would be pissed.
I don't think that's going to happen. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't think that both rides are going to offer differing types of entertainment, types of attractions. But I think both of them are going to be in high demand because I think both of them are going to be very immersive and they're going to be enjoyable. Navi is a beautiful ride. It is total complete eye candy. But let's face it, it's not necessarily worth a 2-hour wait. It's not worth a 20-minute wait.
Give you 7 minutes, and that's because I'm bored.
Yeah, you're 7 minutes only because you're waiting for your phone to charge off of your brick.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's what I'm kind of getting at is. There's a reason why they have soft openings, and there's a reason why they have, some phased approach to things. This is going to be a phased approach. And I think that the closer that we get to that August date, we're going to find out more about what other things outside of attractions are going to be available. And because let's face it, I mean, everything that was said today, there is some speculation to it. They're speculating that as long as everything goes well, and by the way, I realize this is unspoken, but they have to realize that, things can go wrong. Planning can go bad. Weather can hit.
Yeah, that's anything. That's anything, though.
Yes, but people don't realize that. Right now, everybody's thinking that date is so firm, nothing can go wrong. Nothing's going to stop it. I just know this from a project manager perspective. Anything could go wrong, but I have a feeling we will find out more about what kind of attractions, what kind of entertainment, what sort of immersiveness, because they talked about everything from obviously the attractions to what the cast members are going to be wearing. And they're talking about how that is supposed to be even like more immersive. It's not like you're going to be in line for Soarin' and you see a whole bunch of flight attendant costumes. You know, there's going to be variances on the theme. And I think that is just going to be really super immersive. And it may even be to the point where you're not going to necessarily know who's a cast member and who's something else. I don't know. So
under the ticket price jumps over $140 per day for single day.
By the time Galaxy's Edge actually opens? That's a tough call, because we thought that they were going to have a ticket increase.
I think they would. Actually, I don't know, because I feel like if you were going to, you should have done it today when you knew people would go out there and buy tickets.
Yeah, I mean, I think, boy, Danny, that's a tough call, because I don't want to sit here and make it sound negative, because I think we all kind of expected it if it does happen. Those who are AP holders and everything else right now are going to be the biggest winners.
Here we go. So I pulled up Disney site because I wanted to check the ticket price.
Yeah.
So right now it's at $109. There is a giant exclamation point with a red triangle. Important update.
Uh-oh.
Capacity for Disney's Hollywood Studios Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and its experiences is limited. Access to the park, land, and experiences may be restricted or unavailable depending on guest demand and other factors. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance will not be available at opening day of Star Wars. Will open later that year.
Which means sometime, if you go by that comment alone, sometime between now and December 31st. And by the way, that was what you just read there verbatim was at the bottom of the booking as well when I booked the room. So they're being consistent in their verbiage. And,
what date is it open?
I'm sorry?
What date is it slated to open?
29 August.
The 3rd, so that's a Thursday. So right now, according to this, you're at 109 for Thursday, 114 for Friday, 122 for Saturday. Let's click on opening day then for one adult. Don't you have to usually pick your park? No, I guess not. So after tax for one day, one adult, 116.09.
Here's something I want to bring up as well, which I think two things actually. Wendy basically mentions, I really don't think anyone can picture the magnitude of the crowds that will be coming. Star Wars fans that hate Disney. That's kind of like what I was saying earlier. Brandon also made mention the people in Disneyland have it much harder to get into the land. I mean, that's actually kind of interesting because they can actually make a reservation as to when they can get into the land, but you have to be staying at one of the 3 on-site Disney properties, being the Disneyland Hotel, Grand Californian, or Paradise Pier. That means any local or anybody at a good neighbor hotel are in essence going to be shut out. I guarantee you those hotels are now packed. They're just jammed.
You know what really stinks for the people that had trips picked in, say, January or February, when you're like, oh, cool. Crowds are usually lower that time of year. Kids are in school, no major breaks. And they're like, yes, we booked this big expensive trip for our whole family to go. Yeah, expect 2019 to just be a long line. I'm going to make a t-shirt, 2019, the year of waiting in line, because that is what Star Wars will bring. It's just an extremely long line.
But here's the thing. Disney is warning guests right off the bat that they're not guaranteeing anybody anything when it comes to buying your ticket or buying your room. And I think that's fair. I think that is a fair warning because you and I both know. And who was I having a chat with earlier today.
There's a warning on Tide packets not to swallow them, and kids were still eating them. You can warn people whatever you want. It doesn't mean they're gonna listen to it.
No. You're absolutely right. But the thing of it is this. I was talking with somebody, and for some reason, all honesty, I can't remember who it was, but it was one of those cases where the comments were shared that were in such a way that said, people are going to spend their hard-earned money on a Disney vacation. And you and I have talked about this before. It's already expensive to go to Disney. And we know that. We accept that. But the problem of it is that some of these people booked a long while back. They're going to want to try to go to Hollywood Studios, even if it's just to ride Star Tours. And the problem of it is they may not even be able to get into a park because, let's face it, if you're there with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, you're not going to be getting up at 3:00 in the morning to grab an Uber to go over there and wait in line. And, in order to wait in line for another 3 hours or something like that, it's just not going to happen. So it's really going to impact their vacations. And, there are people that were already saying this is going to be extraordinarily difficult. I'm glad that Disney is, advising guests that this is going to be something to seriously consider.
I just want everybody to realize, people in my boat, there is a new, let me put this lightly, a new breed of people about to invade your parks. They are not what you are used to. These are truly not all of them, but these are non-Disney fans. These people are not going to appreciate the things that you might appreciate.
Right.
I would love to be a people watcher on that day. It's like putting two insects in a cage and seeing they've never met each other and seeing how they interact. You are literally putting two separate breeds of people in a very tight area. And I'm curious to see how they mesh, how they coexist.
I think what's going to be even more interesting is that you're going to find people doing epic Star Wars cosplay, because that's their style.
And you're going to see the girl in the Mickey ears, mini ears. What are these people doing? It's just going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, okay, I'm a Star Wars fan, but I've met people who are a Star Wars fan as I am a Disney fan. They are the ones that live, breathe the genre, and they're the ones that spend money on a lot of different things when it comes to that culture. I get it. I mean, it was kind of cool. I've talked about this before. My friends over at Order 66 Toys down in Allen, Texas. And, I kind of got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to really be engulfed in that genre of fandom. And first off, they were some of the most friendly people in the world. Everybody who I met there, total complete strangers, wonderful people. And I have a feeling that a lot of people who follow that fandom, they know that they're not going to be huge Disney fans like you and I. But I have a feeling they will be respectful. They're going to love it just as much. I mean, they're there because they want to enjoy the experience, not because they want to ruin it for anybody. But I can't wait to interact with some of those people, just because I think it's cool to, be enveloped in that type of relationship with people who know that brand better than all of us. That's the thing. They know Star Wars a whole lot better than we do. And we have a chance to learn from them. They have a chance to learn from us. Overall, people are going to find out how Star Wars actually fits into Disney branding. That's just something to consider. I know you're not a fan. And
listen, I can make my jokes, and that's why I don't, because I understand liking something, let's call it out of the norm from an everyday society. Sure. I'm a grown man with a Buzz Lightyear tattoo. Yeah. I get it. Listen, I've been teased enough. I'm not going to go tease Disney. Star Wars fans. Everybody likes their own thing, man. That's what makes the world tick.
Hey, you're not going to tease anybody with a Chewbacca, tattoo on their arm.
No, you can't. I live in a glass house. I can't be throwing stones. I'm just saying,
Mary,
It's like cosplay inside Disney.
Yeah.
It's a Comic-Con coming to Disney World.
Yes.
Is what I expect.
And, the interesting, Mary basically also mentioned, because I've never been to Star Wars weekends, and I know that there are people that would go specifically for Star Wars weekends. And she said Star Wars weekends brought people like that. They had no interest in Disney at all. And that may be true. That's still going to happen. But I don't want people to think that those that really enjoy Star Wars, I mean, it's going to be like, well, this is going to sound funny. It's not going to be like an entirely alien race of people that are, liking something that we do. If you think about it, you have two polar opposites of genres right next to each other at Hollywood Studios between Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge. I just think that is absolutely funny. Oh gosh, Beth mentioned dudes coming out of their parents' basement to see it. Oh my gosh. That's funny.
I can't believe you read that comment.
Huh?
I can't believe you read that comment.
I'm sorry. It's funny, but it's.
I liked it and then had to unlike it. I was like, oh, that's probably a bad image. I won't do that one.
But Beth, thanks for the comment. I am not picking on you when I say this. How many people think that, though? How many people think that we don't come out of our basement because of how much we like Disney?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I mean, how many people think that we're just as bad, if not worse?
Some people are bringing some very interesting comments on both YouTube and Facebook that a lot of the cosplaying will violate Disney's rules about costumes.
Right. You have to do more. You have to do more Star Wars bounding than cosplay, because let's face it, if the costumes that the cast members are going to wear are as immersive as they say it's going to be, you're not going to be able to cosplay at all, because you're going to look like a cast member. Worse than a cast member. But
Jessica, and I know Brian over on YouTube brought it up, there's going to be fights because people take their stuff seriously and spend a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make their cosplay. And it's like you're taking away something that they are very proud of.
Yeah, and at the same time, though, I don't know what kind of cosplay was allowed, like for Star Wars weekends or anything like that. But it is going to be a big deal. Again, some of them are going to have to switch over to bounding rather than cosplay, and so it's kind of interesting to think about how that would work. Certainly going to have to watch how that turns out. I think if anything else, though, those problems are going to happen at the touch styles more than anything else, or going through security. And
here's the thing, people, don't throw knucks. Don't listen. I come from a fighting background. That is what I do. That was who I was.
I just thought you argued a lot.
I do. Well, now it's just all mouth. Now I'm just like a big chihuahua. I just got a big mouth, no bite. But back in my glory days, I had a lot of bite to me. And I'm telling you, man, when I've seen a fist fight in Disney, I have not seen many, but I have witnessed one. It was between two women. A lot of liquor was involved. All I'm going to say is people, when we're meshing these two different types of people, and I know people are going to over-exaggerate what I'm saying. It's just when you're putting that many people in a very small space and people start getting a little mouthy because they think they're in their safe space, don't be throwing fists. That's all it is. Everybody just respect each other. You're all paid a lot of money to be there. Do not get kicked out. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. Just respect everybody. Because at the end of the day, we all are there for one reason, and that's to enjoy ourselves and immerse ourselves in an experience like none other.
I think so, too. And you know what? Oh, excuse me. I'm losing my voice. I see that there is somebody that would actually like to make a comment on the air. I'm going to contact that person on the side here to see if they would like to do it. Unfortunately, I don't have my setup as nicely as I would, so you would probably be able to hear what he is saying, but you would not be able to actually respond. I'm going to see if I can reach out to this person because I really want to hear what he said. Let's see. I love live shows.
And while you're doing that,
yeah,
I want to touch on some because Stan. I feel like the diehard Star Wars fans are taking what I've been saying all show as like a smite at Star Wars fans, and it is not. I have very close friends that are diehard Star Wars fans. I've been to Comic-Cons where people are immersed in subcultures like Star Wars. So I don't think that Star Wars fans are going to crawl out of their basement and, run into the parks dressed like Chewbacca and trying to smack you with a broom. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when there's a lot of people and there's a lot of heat and you're going to have angry Disney people that don't understand why there's such long lines. It's just Star Wars, just a new land. You're going to have angry Star Wars fans that are mad that the girl in the Minnie Mouse ears is standing online to take a picture with Darth Vader, and she's not even a Star Wars fan. Why is she there? I'm just saying everybody should just keep their cool and be cool about it. So don't think it has nothing to do exactly, with Star Wars. I'm just trying to gear everybody for the idea of a new fan base, and it is a new fan base.
It is. I mean, it is.
You are literally going to start to have people, and this is not, take it for what I'm about to say. Take it for what it is. The Hollywood Studios is never going to be the same.
Yeah,
it will never be. This is not going to be your father's or your grandfather's MGM. Okay. This is not going to be my Jim. Okay, answer the call.
Yeah, I'm going to answer the call here for a second.
Okay, I've been a Star Wars fan since I was 10, and haven't gone to Walt Disney World until I was in my 30s, 40s. So I know an awful lot of both fandoms. And Star Wars fans and Disney fans are pretty much the exact same fans. There isn't much difference. I've never done cosplay, but I know a lot of Star Wars fans that are in the 501st and they enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
But they do it more like at conventions, or if they're like going to hospitals to see sick children or something like that.
Sure.
They're not really every day going out dressed up as cosplay. You won't see the Star Wars fans wearing cosplay at the parks, especially in May or August.
Good point. August is not necessarily going to be the time to dress up as Chewbacca or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. They're extremely intelligent and they're extremely friendly. We read an awful lot online about Star Wars fans arguing with each other. I think a lot of that's just media made up. I go to Star Wars Celebration whenever, like the last 3 of them. I'm going again in Chicago this year. Hope to see you.
Yep, same here.
But you're going to find that Star Wars fans and Disney fans are very, very similar. In a lot of ways, Star Wars fans are probably more friendly in that they're there for the same reason. Like, you see a lot of bad vibes happening at Disney World. You don't see that at Star Wars conventions. At least maybe it's because it's only a weekend or what. But I've never seen anybody push or shove at a Star Wars convention, but I have seen that at Disney World.
Yeah, I will agree that, I've seen that sort of thing happen as well. It's really kind of ridiculous when we see, fellow Disney fans really acting badly. It's just not one of those things that, it's really, becoming of a Disney fan, so to speak. And
yeah,
and I agree with you. I really honestly think that the idea of actually, really getting to know the Star Wars only fans, because let's face it, like I said just a few moments ago, the idea of being able to have Disney fans be immersed in Star Wars culture, and dare I even say Star Wars fans being immersed in Disney culture, is an opportunity that has never been had before for Disney or Star Wars as two separate brands. And I really think that has to be given a chance, and really look at it as an opportunity to expand the fan base of both. I mean, like I've mentioned, I consider myself a casual fan of Star Wars compared to a lot of people, but I still enjoy it a lot. But I think it's cool how some people really are immersed themselves into it, especially I have a really big respect for those who do cosplay, because it's a talent I don't have, and I think it's a form of art that is just underrated by a lot of people because they don't understand it. But I really do think that people need to understand that we're all in this together when it comes to really super enjoying what we're about to experience. And so I have to agree with you, Stan, and I appreciate those comments.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And you see, I was episode 1. I go into the theater at 2 a.m. to buy tickets that went on sale at noon.
Yeah.
So it was a long wait in line. And
not
one person cut the line that I saw the entire time we were at the theater.
And that
the
person
same thing goes at Celebration. The line goes for 6 hours to get in. And you don't see people cutting. You don't see people it's a good group of people we're talking about, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was going to say, did that person survive the cut?
Well, probably they would. I mean, actually, I got a story to tell you next time we meet up where I did a major cut in line, but it was totally by accident at a Star Wars movie. I ended up being the first person in line. It was unintentional.
Yeah.
But anyways, and I'm a Star Wars fan, and I don't live in my mom's basement. I moved away from home when I was 18. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I know. You know what? I think this will hopefully. I'm glad that you're making these comments because I'm hoping it'll actually break some stereotypes. I mean,
it is weird stereotypes that I don't understand where they come from.
It is some odd stereotypes. So, all right. Well, hey, listen, I do.
And Disney fans cosplay. You go to D23 Expo. There's just as much cosplay happening there as there is a Star Wars Celebration.
Very true. Very true. And I look forward to the cosplay at Star Wars Celebration. So, but by all means, let's.
It's something.
All right. Hey, man. Thanks for chiming in. Really appreciate it. And by all means, you have a good night.
Bye, Stan.
All right. We'll see ya. All right. So Stan Solo from the Grand Circle Tour podcast. He's a really nice guy. He's been watching us probably since the beginning. Great supporter of the show. Really appreciate his comments. And I think it kind of adds a little bit of I guess depth to the conversation, especially when some people are not going to understand it because they've never experienced it. So, but I totally get it. So anyway, I know you were looking at some comments, Danny. What else were you seeing?
No, we were just talking about popcorn buckets and merchandise.
Did you see there, man? Can you imagine the merch? I mean, people are going to be bringing empty suitcases with them. So that's going to be kind of interesting.
I'm curious to see what Jessica had posted. How do you think this will impact food and wine or vice versa?
You know what? I never thought of that.
I could see wine and food becoming very crowded at night.
Well, I think it's kind of like I said earlier. I think Epcot is going to experience a lot of overflow. I bet you any money, the whole international section of Epcot is just going to get flooded. So
I'm just saying, I just feel that we're going to see an influx. When you see an influx of people, there needs to be an influx of space for them to eat. This is going to be quick, easy bites, where you're not dropping, big time money sitting at a sit down restaurant. And I also think that if you have a trip that happened to fall during this time period and you're like me, where you don't get ADRs to the last minute, you might want to get on that, because I do feel like there's going to be no walk-ups for any of these restaurants.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea behind it, it's like you're going to be more grazing than anything else. I mean, this is kind of like when you grab yourself some Casey's corn dog nuggets and you just walk around with it because that's the best way to eat it anyway. That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking. I don't know. It's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens there. So with that being said, I mean, the fact of the matter is, if any of you guys are actually going to be there for the opening, I'd like to know if you're actually going to try to go to Hollywood Studios during this time. Danny and I are going to try to, as I said, we're in the process of making our plans. Danny and I have been, planning the food and wine trip, and we actually decided, are we going to change things around for it? And we kind of made a conscious decision to say, you know what, we know there's a lot of people that are going to want to be first there, and that's very respectable. I think that we're making a wise decision for what's good for us, and for the goals that we have to basically go down for food and wine, and also to try to experience Galaxy's Edge at the same time. And at the same time, we'll be there about a month after opening, which, Danny, if you think about it, is just about the same type of gap that we experienced Pandora from when it first opened. So it should be a little leveled off, but at least we'll also have a better idea of what to expect for crowds.
I got 17 days till I'm in the park. So I got to get my low-end crowd feeling in before this one hits.
Yeah, but even sites like Touring Plans have been expressing lately on how crowds have been getting bigger, especially towards the end of March. I actually looked it up for you. And
one day that was an 8 when I looked.
Yeah, it's no longer that.
Oh, boy.
But some have also gone down. So basically, I know you made your fast pass plans and everything else like that. Fact of the matter is, keep them. I bet you, knowing you're going to be able to have a great time no matter what.
Yeah, crowds don't,
Crowds never bothered you anyway.
Nah. But you got anything else on this Star Wars topic before we skedaddle on out of here?
No, not necessarily. I mean, the fact of the matter is that I'm really excited about this. I think a lot of people are really excited about this. And, but at the same time, I think people need to be very reasonable in their expectations. I think it should be surprising if for some reason we hear people say, I had no idea this was going to be like this.
You'll have somebody to say that.
Yeah. I just think though, it's such big news. You would be hard pressed for me to believe that people who already have their trips planned for that time frame are going to be surprised that it happens.
But
yeah,
I say to be pissed, but at the same time as you're going to Disney during Labor Day weekend anyway. So what did you expect?
It's kind of funny because I mean, Disneyland is going to be more towards, I know it's not necessarily Memorial Day weekend. But then it's like right after Memorial Day weekend, right as summer is starting, and you have Walt Disney World. By the way,
I was so close with May the 4th. I was with at least in the same month and the wrong land. I was in the wrong part of the country, but I did say May 4th.
Yeah, you have. I mean, you were close. But then again, everybody else is saying May the 4th as well.
The copycats.
Yeah, I mean, you said it first, right?
Yeah,
I thought so. Well, everybody, listen. Before we go ahead and do this, stick around. We're going to say a couple things after the little exit music. I can't talk. So, because we want to give a shout outs to some people and friends and stuff like that. So I'm going to press this button here.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. I am Uncle Danny. What was that? Don't blame me.
How in the world? This means you have 5 seconds. That means you don't start talking right then.
Why? I was still finishing what I was saying.
You shouldn't have been saying anything.
You can't hear you. We can't sit in silence for 2 minutes.
But then I hit the mute button. You start talking again.
Oh, I thought you were giving me the countdown until it's my turn to talk.
Hey, listen, everybody. We're live. We're a live show.
Right. He's wrong on this.
Oh, Danny, you know what? You need a hug.
I need a few things. With that being said, follow us on all social media platforms. Trisha would kill me if I didn't mention it. WDW Community Facebook page. Someone want to send Chris miming money? You can email that at behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com.
Wait. Send me what?
Miming. Learn how to mime.
Miming.
Just remember.
Just remember, a mime is a terrible thing to waste.
You gotta go to bed. Chris needs to take a walk. It's National Take a Hike Day. Get out of here. With that being said, everybody, I am Uncle Danny. Thanks for tuning in. Have a safe and wonderful weekend. Tuck your kids in tight. Wear their seatbelts. I don't really have a third one for you. I don't know. Go old school. Don't forget to drink that cranberry juice. Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, I'm Mr. Chris. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us. Hey, it's one of those cases where if you've never really seen our show before, we know that it can get kind of nuts and crazy, and it's really pretty fun. We are definitely live, unedited, unscripted. What you see is what happens, and it is what it is. We love it, and we love having you be a part of it. We thank you for tolerating all the technical issues, because you know what? It's just us. It happens. But we definitely appreciate everybody who has tuned in for their first time. Join us next Tuesday for our next live recording session. But until we meet again, we hope that you have an absolutely magical day. Take care.